Hey, what's up everyone? It is Magic People here, and it's been a while since I've last posted on SGP, so glad to be back. I think it's a bit overdue. Things have been a little different in my life. I've been doing some pretty cool things. If you guys follow my personal channel at all, you'll know that I moved out of my house. I'm back in my student residence. I work here, so we've had some training. We've had some Frosh Week events. Frosh Week's the same as orientation if you guys aren't familiar with that. And I won't talk too much about that. I've got some videos going up later where I can show you guys like some of the club nights you had, some of the activities we did. We had a flash mob that I actually just got back from, which is kind of cool. But what I want to talk to you guys a little bit about, and it does have a little to do with my training, is leadership. But before I get into that, there's something else that kind of came across my mind while I was preparing for this commentary and kind of getting the gameplay together and all that stuff. And this is for all of you who are commentators yourselves, and people who maybe are considering commentating or who are just interested in, you know, what it's like to be a commentator and all that stuff. And I took about a week and a half off, if you will, from commentating. You know, just kind of doing my own thing, kind of getting things done. You know, it had to take a back seat for a little bit. And the first thing I noticed was, you know, in the last, I'd say, week or so, I've gained 3 subs. I've had like 2 channel comments, 2 like comments on my videos, and the point I'm making with that, and the thing that kind of opened my eyes towards, is that, you know, in YouTube and commentating, if you're not constantly making content, constantly working with other people, getting your name out there and being involved in the community, then essentially your channel's dead. You can't just stop and have things happen on their own, at least not at this stage in the game. Maybe those guys who are, you know, in the big leagues, like, you know, C-Nanners, Extras, they can probably get away with going a week and still having some serious growth. But for everyone else, basically the reality of, you know, the reality for everyone else in the community is you have to keep at it. So that's a pretty valuable lesson that I learned, and it's not that I don't want to continue making videos and be constant at it. It's just, you know, like I said, things get a little busy and things get in the way. You know, life happens. But leadership, let me get right into that. And there's a guy who came in at one of the first days of my training, and he kind of did a talk about leadership, and people in society were given this idea that leadership is you know, this macho, this thing full of bravado, and it's you know, like the whole strong leader image, you know. And the thing that people don't appreciate is there's a lot of things that people do on a day-to-day basis, and that definitely, you know, it definitely quantifies and qualifies as being called leadership. It's definitely worth being called leadership. And I think the biggest problem with that is people don't recognize the leadership in themselves, in the things that they do. People think of themselves and compare themselves to people who they think are, I guess you could say, better than them. And in doing that, they discount all the things that they do in their own lives, which are definitely worth praise and definitely worth acknowledging. So the biggest example of these kind of seemingly insignificant things that should be, you know, recognized as leadership that this speaker gave, the best example that he gave for this was something that he called throwaway moments. Now, this sounds a little confusing at first, so what are these throwaway moments? Well, he told a story to kind of help explain what it was that kind of created this throwaway moment term in his head. You see, he was working at university. He was kind of helping contribute to, you know, orientation type things, helping out with the move-in when the residents all come and move in on the first day. And his job is he was supporting a local charity, and he was going and collecting money. And aside from that, I don't really know too many of the details as to what exactly he was doing. But basically, he saw 2 students. There's a girl and the guy, and they're kind of nervous. And he goes up to the guy, and he's just like, you know, wow, you are so lucky to be standing beside such a pretty lady. And of course, you know, they're embarrassed, they blush, they laugh, and they start talking. Like the 3 of them start talking, and that was it. Now, 4 years later, you know, the guy, he was about to graduate, and he had this girl come up to him and be like, hey, you know, do you have a second? I need to talk to you. You know, I really need to thank you for something. And he's just thinking like, okay. Like, you know those moments where you see someone and they recognize you and they know you by name, and you're just like, I don't know who you are. It was one of those for him. He had no idea who this girl was, and but she knew his name. And then she went on to explain that, hey, you know, on the first day of orientation, like you did this, you made this guy laugh. I want to let you know that, you know, we started dating, and we've been dating ever since. And I wanted to thank you, because without that relationship, I think my experience here at university would have been very different, and I don't know if I would have would have made it through without someone to help me and support me through the experience. So I just wanted to say thank you before you left. And he was like, I honestly have no recollection of this event. And that's where throwaway moments come into play. This was something that was sort of in between goals in his mind. You know, for him, he was always looking forward towards the next step. He was always looking forward, you know, from point A to point B. Everything in between doesn't matter. He'll do what he needs to make it happen. So basically, this moment was completely discounted in his mind, and he had no way of knowing that it would have a significant impact on this person's life. But the fact that that was brought to his attention, and he was made to realize that, you know, really made him realize that there's definitely value in the small acts of kindness, the small little things that you do in a daily basis, which can have a lifelong impact on someone. It was actually quite incredible when you think about it that way. So what I encourage all of you to do, and this man also encouraged us to do, is, you know, let those people in your life know, like, be brave enough to say, hey, you know, thank you for this. Point out that someone did something nice for you and acknowledge that, because, you know, if everyone were to do that and if that were to come back to you, it gratifies those little things that you do. It helps you become a better person, and you know, go out of your way to have those little moments, and don't make them throwaway moments. Make them more important. They're insignificant to most people, but it can actually have a huge impact on other people's lives. So that was kind of interesting, and having this whole chat was definitely touched me, because you know, my experience with leadership, you know, I did the whole high school leadership thing where there's, like, you know, this group of people who, like, run orientation, the people who, like, run all these events, and, you know, I feel bad admitting this, but I almost feel like I did it because, you know, if you were to be successful, if you were to do well, if you were to get into teachers' good books, that's almost what was expected of you, was to join this leadership club and do these things. And, you know, looking back, it was I feel grateful that I did all these things, and I feel like, you know, it made me a better person. But what I'm a little ashamed of is that the reason why I started was not because I had this inner desire to do these things. Like, you know, I feel like most people were inherently lazy. I'm like, well, why would I spend all my time volunteering to do this and that when I could just not and play God, you know? So yeah, it was interesting, because I never really considered these throwaway moments. I've always been very much of a, you know, from one point to the other point type of person, just like this guy was. And what that leads me into a little bit as well is the topic of legacy, and that's something that it very much ties in with that throwaway moment, because my opinion on legacy was, you know, it's what you leave behind, you know, what people remember you for. And I always thought that was very much a physical thing. So, for example, you leave somewhere that you've been, you leave it in a better place, and that's a sign of your legacy. Like, for example, say you started some kind of charitable event, say you started this or started that, well, that's your legacy. But the reality is that those throwaway moments are very much your legacy as well, because of their significant impact that they can have on other people. But anyways, guys, that's all for now. I just thought I'd share some of that with you, because it's something that's been going through my mind the last little while. And I want to say that, you know, I'm back making videos, have a little more time on my hands, and I will see you guys next time. This has been Magic People. Take it easy, everyone.